These children in rural Belize dig for earthworms. Slimy, sticky, smelly worms. Not for fishing, fertilizing, or even for fun, but for use in a new invention designed to reduce health problems due to water contamination around the world. Saving the earth with earthworms. I'm Courtney Welty. According to the World Health Organization, 1.5 million children die each year around the world from diarrheal diseases. Improper management of human and animal waste contaminates water these children drink, cook with, and play in every day.
Worldwide, the issue of child survival is one that's had a lot of attention over the last, now maybe 15 or 20 years, probably even more. But about every year, about 10.5 million children under the age of 5 die from preventable diseases. And about a third, or maybe even 40% of those diseases come because they don't have access to clean water. And so that's a huge number of children that die every year simply because they don't have access to clean water.
More than 150,000 children die from AIDS each year. But 5 times that number die from diarrhea, mostly caused by drinking contaminated water. Every 15 seconds, a child somewhere in the world dies from a preventable waterborne disease.
In developing countries today, we have approximately 1.3 billion individuals that lack access to clean water, which is a major source of disease transmission, and another 2.5 billion that lack adequate sanitation, that is the disposal of human waste.
Problems with contaminated water impact children around the world. These children often get their drinking water directly out of the Amazon River and don't know it contains human waste from upstream. Between 60 and 80% of all diseases in Central America can be attributed to poor water quality, and more than 95% of municipal sewage and industrial waste flows untreated into river systems.
If you clean up the water, then you make a big dent in the number of kids that die every year. It's probably 3 to 4 million under the age of 5 worldwide.
More than 100 million people in Indonesia lack access to safe water, and more than 70% of the country relies on water from potentially contaminated sources. Unsafe drinking water is a major cause of diarrhea, which is the second leading killer of children under 5, and accounts for 20% of children deaths each year. According to the Ministry of Health, every year at least 300 out of 1,000 Indonesians suffer from waterborne diseases, including cholera, dysentery, and typhoid fever.
Africa is certainly a prime example where a community is built on a riverside, and the river is their drinking water source, it's their sanitation system, it's their toilet. Their animals drink in that water, and the water comes downstream from other communities that do the same thing. Some of the highest contamination levels I've ever seen have been in those situations.
The worm, parasitic worm infection is terrible here. In fact, for even those who live in affluent areas, if you do not have a regime of regularly deworming yourself, you are in trouble. As high as 95% of all the children are carrying parasites, which is a direct result of the drinking water that they are drinking. And it's because we are always reinfesting our drinking water with human feces. Is that bad?
The raw sewage from this village in Africa goes directly into the ocean. Conditions like this cause diseases that kill more than 5,000 children under the age of 5 each day in Africa. Kweku Anu lives in Ghana, Africa. He began working with students from Brigham Young University to help develop this merry-go-round that generates electricity for rural schools. While building the playground equipment, Kwaku Anu noticed the water contamination problem in his country, and BYU student Wendy Lee said the problem was devastating.
In Ghana, they have a lot of really, really densely populated villages or cities where you have tons of people living in these crowded spaces, and they need somewhere to put their waste. And so it ends up just going all into the river or whatever water stream is by, and it really, really contaminates that water. And then that water runs into the pipelines, which goes into your tap water. And so that's a huge issue there. And because of it, children get sick because they either play in the water or they drink from the tap water, and they get contaminated with all sorts of diseases.
I was lucky enough to come across a concept in Ghana, and this concept dealt with human waste. This was an inventor who's one of the smartest men I've ever met. His name's Kwaku Anu, and he took one of our fundamental problems of life, dealing with human waste, which leads to diarrheal diseases around the world and kills millions of children.
It is possible if in the third world, in other areas, we have on-site treatment systems, simple on-site treatment systems that take care of the waste in a natural way, in a friendly way, in the way nature intends it. That helps recycle the nutrient content of this waste.
He made the cement box and filled it with rocks, dirt, and common everyday earthworms, the kind you find in the garden. A pipe is installed to carry the sewage from the toilet into the box, where the worms then eat the human waste. Former BYU student Matthew Calling worked side by side with Kwaku in Ghana and was shocked by the seriousness of the issue.
I ignorantly just said, well, a lot more children die in the developing world, and it's just kind of, it's more acceptable almost. It's a way of life here that you guys are just used to.
But Kwaku helped Matthew understand.
He cut me off really abruptly and said, do you think that a mother losing her child here in Africa is any less devastating than it would be for someone devastating? And he really took me aback, and I said, no, you're right. You have every bit as much a right to a good, healthy life, just like we do.
This conversation pushed Matthew to take the project back to BYU, where engineering students replicated Kwaku's can of worms, refined it, and renamed it the Soilet.
So with the Soilet, you have a 2 by 2 by 6 foot box. It hooks up to any standard flush toilet system, and it takes the waste, it filters it through a set of barriers where the liquid waste can run off, and the solid waste is eaten essentially by worms. Worms love it. They turn it into dirt, and that's it. It's incredibly simple.
It can be put anywhere, everywhere, in even the most remote of villages.
The first version of the Soilet went to this village in rural Peru. When they got back, the student entered the eco-friendly waste-eating system into BYU's social venture competition and took home the prize for second place, $10,000. The money they won helped them start a nonprofit organization called Santerre, which means healthy earth in French. The new organization pays royalties to the inventor Kwaku Anu. The excited students wanted to see if the Soilet would solve water contamination problems around the world and reduce the number of deaths due to waterborne diseases. But first, they needed to test the system to make sure it would actually work. The country of Belize is on the Central American coast below Mexico on the Caribbean Sea. But behind this beautiful tropical climate and tourist attractions sit some major water contamination problems.
The city has basically outgrown the current central sewage system. People's sewage has to go somewhere, so it ends up going in the same water. And because the water table is so high, particularly in the rainy season when the area is basically flooded, then that means that children are playing in water that probably has effluent in it. Not probably, definitely has effluent in it. People have to walk through it sometimes.
Heavy rains bring floods that sweep sewage, garbage, and animal waste into canals and streams just like this one. Exposure to this water creates an enormous health risk here and downstream. Maria Gomez and her children live only a few blocks from downtown Belize, but the sewer system in her part of town consists of this PVC pipe going from the community bathroom directly into the river. When it rains, the water from the river surrounds the homes, and soon swarms of mosquitoes hatch. Gomez says her children get sick a lot, and she worries that the water they drink could kill them. Health officials in the country want to find a solution to the problem, but most of the homes are built in swampy areas, and when the monsoon season comes, the rising water floods the above-ground septic systems.
What happens, it's like a cesspool would form around the soakaway at the end of the day. So you find that it's always full of mosquitoes and smelly water and smelly situation. And it doesn't matter what you do, you fill it or not, it's still stay contaminated.
Because of the need, the access to building materials, and cooperation of the government, a student-founded nonprofit organization decided to go to Belize and test out their toilets.
When you tell them this is a system that's not a composting box, it's not a septic tank, it's not just a hole in the ground, but actually uses worms, and they look at you and they say, worms? And these are government officials thinking, are you sure that works, you know? But after we talked to them, we explained to them what we were going to do, people were very interested.
Raymond Burton works for Help International, a Utah-based nonprofit organization that uses college students to build sustainable development projects around the world. Help International sent these volunteers to Belize to build toilets in rural villages.
We've seen it work in Ghana, and we've seen it improve people's lives in Ghana. And so, here is a testing ground for us to be able to see that it actually works in tropical climates as well, and then it can go to the rest of the world.
The children at the Immaculate Conception School in the village of Bullet Tree Falls enjoy a modern computer room, but ironically, still use this outdated toilet system.
We have a bathroom down there, and we have seen that the bathroom is too small for the enrollment of our children now. And sometimes you can imagine 345 children going out during break wanting to use the bathroom, where we only have 4 seats or 4 storage seats where all of them will go and use it at the same time. It's kind of difficult.
In the schools, and children really do not hide their feelings and their distaste. And my own children, they go to school for toilets, but they will refuse to use it when it's messed up. And in fact, I've had instances in which they will refuse to go to school because the toilets are not decent enough.
I would imagine those toilets over there were when this school was built. This school has been here for 25, 30 years. And the population keeps growing, but the facilities don't grow with them. And that's always an issue.
Andre and other local Rotary Club members decided to do something about this problem in their hometown. So with money from the Rotary Club and the help of a few college students, the school will soon have a new bathroom that uses technology that's been around for millions of years. While volunteers poured cement to make the toilet container, students and village visitors had fun helping gather worms from the garden.
No, that's gross.
All the kids helped. But like in any culture, the boys seemed to enjoy pulling the gross, gooey worms out of the dirt a lot more than the girls did. One of the boys liked it so much that he broke into song.
Nadie me quiere, todos me odian, mejor me como un gusanito, le quito la cabeza, quito todo de dentro, el delicioso gusanito.
Good job. For most, this didn't seem like work, especially for the visiting college students who got a chance to play in the dirt with the kids.
One of the other volunteers is with us is named Raymond. And so the kids were asking us what our names were. And they asked Raymond what his name was, and he told them, and they started laughing. Because here they say Raymond Noodles instead of ramen noodles. And so they thought that his name was funny because it was a name. So they actually gave us all food names. They call us He was Raymond, I was Nachos. We had cheese dip and all the things. So that's what they call us at the school when they work with us.
With the help of the fast-fingered worm wranglers, they soon had a pile of creepy crawlers large enough to starve the soilet system. Earthworms eat any decaying organic material, including animal and human waste, which makes it so gross to touch them. But these slimy amphibians process waste very efficiently, all part of nature's recycling program.
But for nature, treating waste will be covered in piles and piles of dung, because every single living organism excretes. That excrement is fed on by other organisms.
It appears that the waste is disposed of in I guess you could say in a permanent way, because it's transformed through the mechanism of the earthworms. And once it's transformed, then it's in a state that's not going to be capable, as I understand it, of actually transmitting diseases as it would be if it was still in a septic system where it's not been treated.
That means that the worms eat the human waste and transform it into enriched soil and gas that doesn't hurt the environment. These flatulating amphibians filter out the harmful bacteria contained in the raw sewage, preventing water contamination.
We believe that it improves the quality of life of children because poor sanitation practices lead to problems, especially diseases, diarrheal diseases in children. And so by implementing projects like these, we improve the quality of life of the children.
In addition to building the soilet, the volunteers also did some teaching in the classroom.
After we go to the bathroom, it goes down this pipe and it could go to a thing called a septic tank.
Showing the kids what the wiggly worms they caught would now do with their doo-doo.
I hope that it will just help them feel cleaner and in a better environment, just so that their school is a place that they feel is sanitary, so that it doesn't smell, so that they can learn in a place that's clean.
It's been a lot of fun to just be able to play with them, actually play/work with them.
The greatest problem with water contamination occurs in the rural parts of Belize, where people have to build their own sanitary waste systems.
Presently, we have different scenarios. In some of our communities, the soil formation that we have are cavernous, and we've found out that we find fecal contamination because of the water flow underground. In some villages, the type of latrines that they have is lean-to pits outside, and all the water, all the liquid from the feces would just percolate into the soil system and would just generally spread and contaminate the water underground.
The rural town of Duck Run consists of 336 people who live in humble conditions.
These are populations where the women who have families of their own, they have children, from the time that they were little girls, just have always been used to seeing children in their community, neighbors, own family get sick and die. So their assumption was that, yeah, I'll have, maybe 4, 5, 6 children and 1 or 2 will die.
Victor Ishmael Perez is the chairman of the village. He agreed to let the students install the experimental soilet system at his parents' house. In addition to the humidity and mosquitoes, the students found it difficult to build the soilet without access to modern tools and supplies.
There's no like Home Depot. There's no one local hardware store where you can get everything. So we have to go to 5 different places to order several different things, and that's been a big challenge.
A typical septic system costs around $1,000 US, but a family can get a warm-equipped soilet system for around $400. They're easy to install, environmentally friendly, and less than half the cost.
The proof that this is a solution for the developing world is one in the cost. I believe this is a solution that every third world country can afford. I think this is a solution that will ensure that there's a toilet in every single home. The key is have a solution that ensures that we do not reinfest ourselves with our waste. And this will guarantee that.
Nosotros somos una familia muy pobre, creo yo. Y mi papá está muy viejito, mi mamá está muy viejito. ellos tienen sus toiles allá, por allá, y en la noche salen para afuera. No sabemos qué puede pasar allá afuera. Entonces, pues gracias a ustedes, les vamos a componer su baño, que ya pueden estar adentro de la casa. Y gracias a Dios y gracias a ustedes, nosotros vamos a realizar los sueños.
The Perez family agreed to test out the Soylent system and appreciated the free materials and labor. But the college students claimed they gained a lot by helping those in need.
I was looking for something new, something different to do with my summers instead of staying at home and working. And I thought it would be a nice chance, a nice opportunity and a good experience to come down here and come back to this area, because I served my mission down here, to come back to this area and be able to serve the people in a new way instead of proselyting, but to actually come and take care of all these problems that I saw while I was on my mission, but never got the chance to do, you know. And so to be able to come down here and actually work in a different way and serve in the way that they really, I mean, they appreciate it when you go down, when you teach them and stuff, and especially when they listen, when they learn, and then they want to change their lives. But most of the time, they're just wanting some sort of help in this kind of area. And so it's nice to be able to come down and also serve them in that way. And so I was looking for something like that to do, and it was just a good fit to come down with Help International.
And another thing that has been rewarding is meeting the Belizeans and working with them. I've been just so impressed with their hospitality and their willingness to help us in this project. And
when I was in primary, we used to sing a song, "When we're helping, we're happy." And that certainly seems to be the case here. These young people are terrific.
But in order for the Soylent system to work, it must also meet the needs of the growing metropolitan areas of Belize. The nation is trying to grow its economy through tourism. People from all around the world travel to Belize to enjoy the tropical fish, brilliant coral reefs, and warm turquoise waters.
The water is so important to us around here. I think majority of the people now make the living off tourism. The main industry here in the country is tourism, so everybody's getting into tourism or is in tourism right now.
The ocean and the reef is the most important thing for our island in particular, because tourists come over here to see the reef, they come for diving, snorkeling and that, so the ocean is extremely important to us. And that is why you see that there are certain areas that are reserved for marine parks that are being created to make sure that we have beautiful areas that tourists can go and see.
No matter where the tourists come from, they all need to go to the bathroom when they arrive.
The thing is, people have to get rid of their sewage. So if there is no system in place to do so, then people's effluent is going to go into the groundwater, and you can't stop it by legislation. You can't tell people not to produce sewage. So I think that if you can produce a system that's cheap enough that it can have widespread use, particularly in lower income communities, people will use it. People will install it, and if it's cheap enough, then you can mandate it and make sure people do it. And I think the impact would be immediate and very substantial.
The Parrot's Nest Hotel refers to itself as an eco-friendly resort. Small cabins surrounded by tropical rainforests, the ultimate experience for those who want a green getaway.
We try and be an eco-resort. I mean, we don't go for all the brand names like Rainforest Alliance and things like that, but we try and keep it kind of green and eco. As you can see by the smallness of the cabins and everything, less of an impact. So it sounded like it would work really well.
Parrot's Nest owner Marcus Horton loved the idea of using worms from the earth to eradicate the waste from humans.
At first I was thinking there's no way our worms would want to go through with this, but they said that was how it would work, and it seems to be working. Everybody that we tell that stays in this cabin is like, really? You have worms back there? Can we see them? Sure, yeah, lift the lid.
Although the system may seem simple, it has the potential to change millions of lives all throughout Central America and the rest of the world.
I honestly believe that the Soilet can change the world. It is an incredible innovation that in places that struggle and suffer from water contamination, this can make all the difference.
Sarah Joy Pond created the Tipping Bucket, a way to raise money for service projects like the Soilet, using social media to solicit money. With the help of millions of people giving a small amount of money, Pond thinks they can provide the funds to take the Soilet around the world.
I've seen when it's done in Ghana. I've seen the implications that this has. And the simple fact of being able to count on going to work every day instead of counting on missing a week every month because you're sick, that's a huge thing. Being able to have your children attend school on a regular basis instead of missing a week every month because they're sick.
If the pilot program works in Belize, the promoters of the Soilet hope to start building cement containers and digging for worms to expand the vision of a third world inventor, so children everywhere can have better access to clean water.
We're just introducing it here. It seems like the potential is huge, but whether or not it works out, that we just have to keep experimenting, keep trying, testing the system in different venues and different situations. And when that, I have every reason to believe that it'll be totally successful, but we just have to go step by step.
I hope that the people who have seen this technology can go and duplicate it, because it's very, very easy to duplicate. And I hope that it can spread throughout all of Central America. Now that we've tested it in Belize, we've seen that it works. The Central America has a lot of similar climates as far as geography and temperature and weather. So I hope that maybe it can go into Guatemala or El Salvador or outlying countries here.
A lot of work goes into building a Soilet, and it's a beautiful thing because it's so simple. It's a process that is so normal.
So if you imagine a world, a future in which our waste is nutrient or a beneficial product, I think this is going to give us a much, much better world.
I think if the Soilet system could solve the problem that we have with the effluent coming out of septic tanks, I think that would be a huge plus for areas like this and a huge plus for the country as a whole.
You know, we're all brothers and sisters, and we're all part of one big human family. And of course, most of our interest in doing this work to begin with has been to help improve the lives of others so they can enjoy their experience on Earth, certainly to minimize the difficulty, the sadness, the disruption in a family that comes from someone being seriously ill and then dying. You know, every life is important.